Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Edson Barboza, one of the last OGs the UFC has to offer. He's main eventing against Super Sodiq Yusuff in a men's featherweight competition this weekend. UFC Vegas 81. Folks, my name is Derick G. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. Breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native himself, AJ Barboza. He's one of the last OGs left, a true gatekeeper. What are we expecting out of my man come Saturday night?
Greatness, Derick. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting him to show all the haters out there that it is possible to turn back the clock. Sure, Father Time might not be undefeated, and this is no longer a resurgence of Edson Barboza, but this is a surprise, a wake-up for those who are uninitiated. And folks, if you're uninitiated on Edson Barboza, you need to go back and watch some tape. This boy's doing it for a long time. We say it all the time, folks. This is a banger of a card. We might have some pay-per-views on the way, but you need to tune into this one.
That's right. Bona fide gatekeeper, a dude that the young prospects, even the young contenders, are like, I want that name on my resume. And that's how Super Sodiq Yusuff is feeling coming into Saturday night. But folks, before we break it all down, a little bit of housekeeping. Take a look at the scoreboard below. My man AJ is currently in the lead right now. 107 wins, 69 losses, 3 draws. I am right there behind him, 106, 70, and 3 for me. Just know this, there's 2 shiny gold belts right behind me. I want to be Triple D. I want to be triple champ. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? But it's going to be a tough going right here because there's a little over 2 months remaining. We are neck and neck. And guess what? Even though we want to win you guys some money, we want to win these belts more than anything else. So AJ, let the people know we got a lot to fight for. A little context behind it. Let the people know.
A lot to fight for, Derick, and like you said, sure, it may be pride on the line for us. We're over here, I want that gold belt, I'm hungry. We hungry, like they said in the Fast and the Furious back in the day. But Derick has 2 shiny belts right behind him. The most important thing, folks, if we're winning, whichever one of us takes that belt home, that means you folks are cashing in and week out. All we ask you to do is hit that subscription button down below and tell a friend.
We do have a pretty massive army, about 720 people on deck right now. We're gunning for that 1,000. That was our goal. There's a couple months left. If we can knock out 100 a month, we're right there in the money, folks. Lofty goals, you know what we're here for. Now, AJ, let's jump into a quick TLDR. And you know how it goes, folks. You guys are going to get a solid 3 seconds. Take your screenshots, run away to the sports book, and just thank us later. 3, 2, and that is it. AJ, before we jump into the props, Bloody Water Podcast Consensus Picks. That is a pride of this program here. We got 3 good ones. Jennifer Maia, Edgar Chairez, and Christian Rodriguez. As always, let's talk about a theme. What's the theme of the Bloody Water Podcast Consensus Picks this week?
My theme for this week, Derick, is violence. Violence and imposing your will and the conditions presented to you. I think my fighters can get it done over here. Or I should say our fighters, since it's a consensus. But what's your theme for this week, Derick?
Showing up and showing out, man. The doubted fighter who's ready to put everybody on notice. Christian Rodriguez, even though he stole a lot of that hype from Raul Rosas, still doubted. Edgar Chairez, rematch on a fight that he won, he's doubted. Jennifer Maia, listen, man, we doubt her week in and week out, and she still racks him up. So we got a lot of good stuff in store for you, but this should tell you a little something. There's 3 consensus picks. Folks, there's 6 main card fights. There's a lot of contention that we got to talk about here, and we're going to break it all down. But before we do that, AJ, we got a little bit of work to do. Props. Let's bring up the screen. I like Jennifer Maia on point. Let's go. Minus 115. I am falling into your trappings, and I am rolling with the minus money. Folks, I need a win. We need a win for this program here. We might be able to call how a victory of a fight's going to go, but we've been a little rough on like the exact precision. So, AJ, you got a banger. You got a dog. The damage. Darren Elkins, plus 375 on points. Talk to the people.
I got an absolute dog here, folks, in full transparency. I think the man on the other side of the screen right over there has the legit prop lock. Anytime I was looking at the props, I thought, man, that Maia by points sounds good. But if you're looking for one that maybe just has a little bit of juice on it, that is most likely outcome of that fight, I do think it's a decision. I think the damage is going to get it done against downtown TJ Brown.
All right, fair play. I got a little something for you. We're going to talk about it. But before then, take one last look. I like Maia on points, minus 115, plus 375. Big cash in right there for the damage. Darren Elkins. Now, folks, we're going to jump into this main event. All of the main card picks right now. So if you want an in-depth analysis and breakdown of what it is to come, stick around. We got you covered. If you want to run, we do not fault you. I do kind of fault you a little bit, but at least hit subscribe before you go. Tell a friend to tell a friend, because this is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. And with that being said, AJ, let's break down some fights, baby. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Super Sodiq Yusuff. He's gracing the octagon right across from Edson Barboza, man. This is a featherweight contest. This is going to be a fun one that I have actually been looking forward to for a while because, AJ, this isn't a new matchup. These two were actually slated to fight once upon a time. All these years later, here we are. Trajectories haven't changed much, but I will say Edson Barboza is not quite the same fighter that he was in 2020. A little bit of a different fighter. Eternal gatekeeper is something that I would consider him as right now, because I do not think a title contention is on the line from the B side, from the blue side. Would you agree with that? Who has the pressure on them going into this matchup?
I think Sodiq Yusuff, Derick. Sodiq's the one with all the pressure going into this fight because Edson Barboza, you're right, he is a different fighter from 2020. Arguably, has his skills grown? Have they decayed? Has he gone up and down in certain levels? I think he's a more well-rounded, composed fighter in there at the Edson Barboza he is now. Sure, some people think he's not as dangerous, but if you sleep on him, man, he will be doing work. We saw it happen in the Billy Q fight last. I don't think Sodiq is going to be sleeping in this one, but he does have a hell of a mountain to climb. Who do you say the pressure's on?
Yeah, I would definitely say it is on Sodiq Yusuff, but then again, you cannot discount the name of Edson Barboza. Just carrying that name holds a lot of weight, and if you lose to a Sodiq Yusuff, we got to start asking a couple of questions and saying, okay, Edson Barboza, number 13, does he need to be in that top 15? So I think he's fighting for his number, to be completely fair with you, because Super Sodiq Yusuff, man, he's got some good wins, but this would be, aside from, I would say, Arnold Allen, this is going to be like the biggest name on his resume, right? And that doesn't really tell you too much, given that Arnold Allen, though he is a perennial contender, he's not an Edson Barboza, am I right?
Absolutely, Derick. I think the levels that both of these guys have faced, this is not necessarily a step up for Sodiq Yusuff, but it is a step in the right direction to be fighting upwards that ladder. As far as Edson Barboza, he's fought everybody, done it all. So I don't think he's going to be too shell shook, if you will. But you're right. You got a target on your back as big as Barboza has. You're always a little stressed.
Now let's talk about some X's and O's for this matchup, right? One thing that you would say about Sodiq Yusuff, especially given his last performance, which was a gimme, is that, well, why wouldn't he take it to the mat? Why would he kickbox with Edson Barboza? Who in their right mind wants to get flatlined, gets body kicked? Everything hurts from Edson Barboza when it comes back your way. However, I have a funny feeling here that this is going to be a stand-up war back and forth, which then makes it really competitive and does absolutely open up the door for Edson Barboza to have a showcase-type bout here. The only problem is Edson Barboza, though he has tons of power, though he's incredibly athletic and dynamic, the numbers in terms of how much output, it's not too waning, but there's a stark difference, man. Sodiq Yusuff, about 5.5 significant strikes landed per minute. Edson Barboza, he's looking at about 4 on the nose right there. Is volume going to be a problem for Edson Barboza?
I don't think so, Derick. And why I don't think the volume is going to be a problem is because of the power and the crack that Edson Barboza hits you with. He's going to be able to get the respect from Sodiq Yusuff right away. Even though I do expect Sodiq to be on the front foot here, I do think he's going to be a little worried about what's coming back once he goes toe-to-toe. Do you feel the same, or are you thinking a little opposite there?
I don't know, man. I have a feeling that Yusuff might be able to use some of that footwork and the threat of taking it down to the mat as a method to be able to corral Edson Barboza up against the cage and then kind of just do his work right there. But then again, Edson Barboza is not a guy who will always sit back unless you're going to wrestle him fully, right? Bryce Mitchell style, where he'll just be like, all right, I'm waiting for the shot so he could time the knee, Billy Q. Sodiq Yusuff does have a lot on the line right here because this is going to be the thing that's going to propel him for those real money fights at this point. Even though Edson Barboza is a gatekeeper in this stage of his career, I do think once you get this victory, especially if it's convincing, you start working your way back up to it. Maybe a potential Arnold Allen rematch, but really that top 7, I would say, of the men's featherweight division, I think it really opens it up. So he has to put on a stunning display here if he wants that. I just don't know how reasonable that is against an Edson Barboza, though we do have to take into consideration what have those losses looked like in his last couple, man. He had that losses against Gaethje, Felder, Ige, one against Mirkani, one against Burgos, lost to Giga, lost to Bryce Mitchell, got back against Billy Q. Would you say there's a common theme in between the losses that he took there?
In between the losses, Yeah, you could see it, Derek. Somebody who's willing to mix it up at least. Giga's one of the ones that, he's on the striking side. He's still willing to mix it up. But you got Dan Ige, Paul Felder, Justin Gaethje, even Kevin Lee. Yeah, there's people that have shown him a multitude of different ways. And if Edson Barboza isn't able to figure out which attack is coming, then he does struggle a little bit. So if that's the way Sodiq's going to play this fight, more power to him, because that is the easiest route. We'll see if he can actually get lulled into that dogfight, because that's where I think it favors Edson Barboza in this one.
And that's my point here, is that this is going to be reminiscent, AJ, to your pick last week, where it was my man, Alex Morono, right? You're like, if he does the game plan accordingly, if he does what he needs to do to win the fight, I think that he is rightfully the favorite. But if he does not, and he plays into the style of his opponent, it gets really messy. So I'm going to give you guys that caveat. I really like Sodiq Yusuff in this spot. I think that he's a rightful favorite. I think that people are discounting him a touch. I think he should be a slightly larger favorite personally, but I do think if he kickboxes with Edson Barboza, it's going to be a world of hurt. So AJ, props. Which props do you like here?
Woo, me, Derek, personally, man. I want to go with that plus 175 TKO for the Barboza side. I want to. It seems possible. But at the same time, I'm giving Sodiq a lot of credit here. I'm going with that plus 650 decision for the Barboza side. What about you, Derek?
Okay, interesting. I mean, it's tough, man, because on one hand, these guys are talking it up, finish. Oh, man, I can't see how somebody walks out of there with the decision, right? But then again, you look at the methods of victory. There's a lot of decisions on the side of Sodiq Yusuff. Edson Barboza, if you look at his wins, yeah, he's either got stunning knockouts or he's got grinded out decisions. So I would say that, I'm going to push back. I guess for Barboza, I would probably lean that TKO more than I would the decision, just because he has the explosive capacities. I would lean decision more for Sodiq Yusuff. It does make me wonder, that plus 650 submission, though. If he pulls it out, bro, nobody's expecting it. That could be a long shot, but I say that's something you should definitely just think about it. But either way, give me Sodiq Yusuff. I'm going to roll with that 250 TKO. I think that if you're a wise better, folks, just, Bloody Water Podcast transparency here, rock with the money line, whichever way that you're rolling. I think that's going to be the wise pick. You got anything else on this one, AJ?
I agree with you 100%. You're laying some money down. Money line is the way to go.
That's right. All right. Massive main event with massive implications and what's going to be a very technical bout. But I like Sodiq Yusuff. AJ likes Barboza. May the best man win. Happy hunting, folks. All right. Let's move on to a really, really interesting co-main event. Did we ever really think that Viviane Araujo would kind of fall in out of grace to the level that she has, man? Because loss against Alexa Grasso, well, that aged very well. You lost to the champ. All right, fair enough. Loss against Amanda Ribas in her last one did not age quite as well. The losses to Caitlin Chikagian and Jessica Ai. If you just look at the competition she's lost to, you're a little puzzled by it. Because then you look at the wins. Andrea Lee, Roxanne Modafferi, Montana De La Rosa, Alexis Davis. It doesn't look good, AJ. And I thought that Viviane Araujo had a lot of promise, and I think that she still does. If we had to pinpoint what has been the catalyst of why she just can't get the dub in these fights, what would you say it is?
Derek, that's a good question. I would say finding her moments, like whenever she's presented with an opportunity, she somewhat fumbles. Like when she's starting to get up in the fight, getting to where she feels comfortable, there's always a pivotal moment. We see it all the time in fights where it's one swing of the turn, or one swing of the fist, I should say, sets you up for a different outcome of the fight. Viviane Araujo, at least as of late, has really struggled in finding her lane, if you will. And I think that's one of the big things. I was even watching that Amanda Ribas fight recently, or literally just a couple hours ago, and Viviane Araujo has this presence to her where she can control things, where she can look good in certain instances. But then I don't know if it's a lack of judgment or a lack of mental capacity or even just taking a second off because you're tired, but somehow it always seems to slip right out of the grasp of Araujo. That's what makes me worried right here for this fight, because you're fighting an absolute killer and a savage and a very experienced fighter in Jennifer Maia. What do you think, Derek? Is it that lack of just slight focus? Is it a physical thing? What do you think?
I think part of it is a physical thing, man. She has so much muscle mass, right? So she's carrying a lot of muscle, a lot of strength, a lot of power. She imposes her will a lot of the time until it gets a little later in the fight. And forcing those takedowns, mixing the full repertoire of mixed martial arts, she just kind of starts to fade towards the end of the fight. And you might shoot for that takedown, and then all of a sudden position is reversed and you're spending the rest of the fight on your back. Do I anticipate that here? Not quite, man. Jennifer Maia is not the fighter who's going to be looking to take you down. So this is definitely an advantageous spot for Araujo, except I don't think that it is, because Jennifer Maia, great Muay Thai, great stand-up, and if she's proven that she can box you up for 15 straight minutes, I mean, she's done it time and time again. So that's why I'm saying this is my prop lock of the night. Jennifer Maia on points, smash spot, -145 with the odds. I love this price on Jennifer Maia, simply because Araujo still carries a big enough name to where I think Jennifer Maia would be a much larger favorite, given Araujo fights the way that she normally does. What path can she take, though, to mix it up? Does she just have to lay and pray? Does she have to hold Jennifer Maia down, not let her get her offense off? Like, what's the path to victory for Araujo here?
I mean, I think that's a great path, Derick. You're right. You get to the hips, you take Maia down, you beat her up 15 minutes, you work the clock, you work the judges. Yeah, all that works as well, and it can happen. Araujo does have slick takedowns, so she could get there. We even saw it in the Hibos fight. She's able to get the fight to the ground. But the thing is, with Jennifer Maia, she has a way of hurting you and making you pay every time you come in for that. So if Araujo is also able to control that distance, be the slickster on the feet, get her worried, get Maia thinking that this is just going to be a stand-up fight, and then take it to the ground. Then you can start working some things. Have Maia not really sure what your attack's going to be. I think that's going to be the best method right here for Araujo. Do you see another path, Derick?
I think that with that 4-inch reach advantage, she can really put that stick on Jennifer Maia. Keep her at bay. Just keep popping it out there. Pop it, pop it, pop it. Just don't let her find her rhythm, because once she does, it's going to be game over from there. But also throw in that threat of the takedown. The problem is, man, Jennifer Maia is no slouch when it comes down to her takedown defense. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but let's just take a look at the Marina Moroz fight. A lot of people were banking on Moroz on that one. We know Moroz is a good boxer, but she can also take you down and start wrestling with you. Jennifer Maia, she beat her up for 15 minutes, man. It was not a fun outcome right there. For Araujo, on that other hand, man, I think it's going to be a very similar situation. If she cannot take her down, you have to be active with the hands. You have to be getting out there throwing a super high strike count, because Jennifer Maia, like I said, man, on the feet, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. In terms of a number that I really want to cash here, let me take a look at the odds. It's too heavy. You don't really want to play this line, but this is one that you could bank on for most women's fights. Over 2.5 rounds. It's deep right now. It's like -450. Not a lot of value right there, but if you wanted to add it into a parlay on something, I don't really see a finish happening here unless Araujo submits Jennifer Maia, takes her down and TKOs her. Don't see that in the realm of possibility. Do you see any other method of victory for either one of these fighters other than what we assume? For Maia, points. For Araujo, probably a finish. Do you see any other method of victory?
Nah, Derick, I'm right there with you. That's why I was browsing the props for this week's show, man. And I think that Maia by points is one of the most likely outcomes to be. We've fallen in the trap before for minus money. I don't see it happening again, folks, but we've been wrong before. And if we are, you know who's going to be accountable. But I do think that's the most effective and most likely outcome for this fight.
Absolutely. So bank on it. Jennifer Maia by points versus Vivi Araujo should be a fun one, but this is something to propel Jennifer Maia back up towards where she was before. Title shots, things of that nature. All right, AJ. Jonathan Martinez, Adrian Yanez. This is the people's main event. They've been proclaiming this throughout the entirety of the buildup of the UFC Vegas 81 card. You know what I thought was hilarious, AJ? They asked Jonathan Martinez in the pre-fight presser, hey, they're asking pretty much all the Mexican fighters, don't you wish you fought on UFC Noche? And he was like, no, I didn't. I don't care. I don't think he cares where he fights, when he fights, who he fights. I think that he's just there to get a bag and get a win. And this is a fight that it's going to be difficult to do both. But if he can do it, AJ, you have to, for either one of these fighters, I think Jonathan Martinez, unfortunately, his name carries more weight in this one. So I don't think he gets as big of a boost if he beats Yanez, but this is a huge win if he can beat Yanez. And vice versa. If Yanez can beat Martinez, for both fighters' trajectories of their career, I think it just kind of skyrockets right here. Does it make you question, why are they lining this bout up at this time? Is the timing right for this matchup, I guess, is the question.
I think the timing is right, Derick, because when I saw this matchup happen, I thought they fought previously. Like, I was like, didn't these guys square up before? No, they haven't. This is the time these young guns, we say young guns because they're somewhat not necessarily the biggest names in their division. But at that point, bro, these guys, I think, are lining up for the perfect moment. This is a win-win for both fighters, especially if this is a dog match, bro. If this is one of those fights, blood from all the way, we're sitting in the bloody waters, been at 1 minute 15. This is a win-win for both of them. I think it's going to skyrocket, the winner to whoever. And I do agree with you. I think Martinez has right now more the name power, the star power. But when we saw Adrian Yanez with that Tony Kelly knockout coming in, absolutely putting damage, if he's able to do that, he's going to make impacts, man, make big waves in the division. I think it's going to be, like you said, Derek, the people's main event. This one's going to be a fun one.
100%. And I'll tell you one thing that you can't do as a fan, especially, you can't look at Adrian Yanez and say, oh, you got knocked out in your last fight. You're not the guy we thought you were. That you can't do that. That's not a fair assessment whatsoever. He fought Rob Font, dude. Like, that's the thing. We thought Rob was washed, right? Oh, Yanez is going to come in, starch him. So what happens when you fight a hungry vet who's only lost to the best of the best? Jonathan Martinez, on the other hand, I would say a lot of people are really high on him, but to some degree, you kind of gotta narrow it down, because I was in the camp that says I thought Said Nurmagomedov won that fight that he had last, right? I was in the camp of Nurmagomedov there. Got the nasty big win against Cub Swanson. A couple other decisions, man. The Lazishvili, Alejandro Perez, Vince Morales. Listen, we don't need to go down the resume tape, but the point is his win streak, though it looked beautiful on paper, it's a touch questionable. But let's now break down the X's and O's, man. Is this as classic of a matchup as kickboxer willing to utilize all the different parts of the body, Chris Gutierrez, El Guapo style, versus straight up boxer, Adrian Yanez, let's square him up, let me get in your face, put pressure on you, and try to knock you out? Is it as simple as that, or is this matchup a little more complex?
I can see where, those correlations are made, Derek, but no, I don't think it's as simple as that, because, Adrian Yanez, very crisp boxer, very clean, but we saw him get outboxed by Rob Font, who is arguably one of the best boxers in the game right now, so it's hard to really compare that. But yes, you're right. The boxing is going to be crisp of Yanez, and as well as the kickboxing, the striking, the kicks that are going to be coming out of the Martinez camp are there. So I can see the correlations. But when it actually, when the dust settles, when they're going toe to toe, when the ring doors close, I think this is going to be a lot more intricate of a match that has to go down. I'm expecting washing machine. I'm expecting crazy attempts at certain things, spinning shit, submissions out of everywhere, every which corner we can see. The thing is, though, I think this is going to come down to a dog match, Derek. Who's the bigger dog in there? And for me, honestly, I'm a big Martinez fan. I'm a Yanez fan as well. While I was watching this, I thought, Martinez is the bigger dog in there. He's going to, have more heart. He's going to be pushing the pace. But then I started watching, man. Yanez is very hard to discount in that fact. And I think when the chips are down, Yanez is going to be the guy standing tall. We'll see, Derek. What do you think? Is that a fair assessment, or you see it in opposite direction?
No, I think you're 100% right about that. I think that Yanez is the bigger dog. And the reason why is because we've seen him suffer adversity and come back. Now, did he in his last fight? No, but we've seen it before. Jonathan Martinez, on the other hand, I think he's a dog in his own way, but he's more of that stone cold machine killer right there. That's more of the mold that I see him in. Now, what does it mean to you when Adrian Yanez immediately, how would you say, he observed, that's maybe not the right word, but he was all like, oh yeah, calf kicks, Jonathan Martinez, dangerous. Yeah, we're going to have to stay away from that. Well, good thing I'm working with the top-notch Muay Thai coach, so I'm covering my bases right here. When they immediately acknowledge, that's the word that I wanted to use, when they acknowledge some of the most dangerous aspects of Martinez being his brutal kicks, how much does that get into the psyche of you as a bettor to say, okay, well, if he's aware of it, he's probably going to come for it, but maybe we're not going to get the typical Adrian Yanez performance that we get, because if he goes heavy on that front leg boxing style, you're going to get your leg chewed up. You're going to get Cub Swansoned. So how much pause does that give you?
It worries me a lot, Derek, especially at the beginning of the fight. When you're still thinking about it, you're fresh about it. I forget the exact name of the term, but when you think of a red Lamborghini, you want a red Lamborghini. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you got a tax collector on your back. That's everything you can think about. That's the same kind of concept right here for Yanez. Don't think about the leg kick. I got to avoid the leg kick. Next thing you know, leg kick hits. And you're like, oh, shit. Then you start thinking more and more about that leg kick. Got to avoid it. Bam, another one comes your way. That's what worries me in this fight, especially once they're fresh. But once the fight really starts going, once the mix-up comes, the adrenaline's kind of gone now. Now you're fighting using all your tacks and everything. That's where I think Yanez is going to find his best route to victory, avoiding that kind of thing, making it his style of fight. But it does worry me, folks, and just for full transparency, I've been back and forth on these picks 10 times. Martinez can win this one multitude of ways. Yanez can win this one multitude of ways. That's what makes it a very fun fight to watch. Although for the betting, Derick, you can see it's minus 110 apiece. This is a pick'em. This is a close one right here.
So yes, this opened as a pick'em. There's been a lot of line movement. I've been following this one pretty carefully. So at one point, it swelled as much. I think it was Jonathan Martinez, like minus 115, minus 120. Adrian Yanez touch on plus money, like plus 105. Currently, live odds, minus 115. Martinez, minus 105 for Adrian Yanez. So this is basically a coin toss, and that's how I see this fight as well. It really depends on what style they're going to come across. And once again, Jonathan Martinez is one of those guys where it's just really difficult to count him out, because we saw him against the wrestler. He was able to defend the takedowns and still do his work. We're going to see him against another striker. I would say Jonathan Martinez has a better resume than Adrian Yanez, but Yanez is special, and we all know that. I think we all can very, very easily tell that. So is there any prop that you like in this one, or is this so much of a coin toss you just say, go with the money line and hope for the best?
Woo! If you're putting money on this one, folks, I'm saying go with that money line just to be a little safe. But if you're feeling a little juicy, you're feeling a little risky, I like that plus 185 TKO for the Yanez corner.
Yep, and then I can never be mad at a Jonathan Martinez decision victory, because he seems to be able to squeak those ones out pretty thoroughly. Once again, I do want to see how those leg kicks and body kicks come into effect. This is a southpaw striker in Jonathan Martinez versus an orthodox striker in Adrian Yanez. So ultimately, all that means in the grand scheme of things is that somebody's liver is going to be open, and it will be Adrian Yanez's. This is going to be such a fun fight, folks. So tune in, banger alert. I like Martinez. Adrian is in the Yanez camp. Happy hunting. Trail wisely. All right. Now, AJ, this is a guy here that I've been wanting to see fight for some time. I believe his last fight did get canceled, but it was Michel Pereira versus Andre Petroski. Now, I have these ones flipped. I do believe that Petroski is now the A side and Pereira is the B side. That's neither here nor there. The point is, this is a short notice opportunity for Andre Petroski, who was not just chilling on the couch like some of the other fighters do. He was actually getting ready to train for the ADCC Open Trials that were going to be taking place this weekend. So you got a heavy grappler who was preparing for a grappling contest, though he was in Thailand on vacation, versus a Michel Pereira who, AJ, I don't know if you saw, this is 185 pounds, my friend. This is no longer cutting 1,000,000 pounds to get to 170. Probably a little more rejuvenated, a little more of a natural weight class. This is going to be new territory for both fighters who both have some cardio issues. What do you think about this one?
That's what I was going to point out, Derick. The cardio issues of both these fighters, that's what makes this one a little unstable for me going into this one, man. Because what happens? You know, let's say Michel Pereira stuffs 10 takedowns. Andre Petroski, gas, breathing heavy, end of the second round. Or on the opposite coin, what if Michel Pereira goes back to what we used to see him love to do, spinning things, jumping around, throwing backflips and stuff? Then by the end of the second round, he's breathing hard. Who knows what's going to actually happen with those two once that happens? But I do think at the point in both of these fighters' career, Michel Pereira is the more composed fighter, at least at times. And I say that with an asterisk because this man still has that wild man style in him. But at least lately, in his last couple of fights, man, the Ponzinibbio, the Fialios, all of those fights, he's looked calmer. He's looked more composed. And that's what I like about him in this fight. But to your point, Derick, Petroski is a very, very dangerous grappler. And what's the one kryptonite to the Superman that is Michel Pereira? It's going to be that grappling, man. Getting sat down on the butt and then him trying to work things like that. It's going to sap all that energy. It makes me wonder, man, who do you think is going to have the better gas tank when this fight gets going, second, third round?
It's tough to say because it really depends on how the fight plays out. This concerns me because if this goes long, this is just going to be an ugly fight. It doesn't matter who you're rooting for. This will be a very ugly fight. And when things get really ugly, that's when mistakes are made. When mistakes are made, you can no longer have a surefire thing. That doesn't exist in MMA. So once again, you mentioned it. Spinning stuff from Michel Pereira, a lot of heavy striking efforts. He can knock out Andre Petroski here. However, Andre Petroski, the difference between Pereira and Petroski is Petroski needs one takedown to finish everything. Pereira, I mean, he only needs one strike to finish everything, but you're probably going to have to put a little something on him. So how concerned are you that if Petroski can get that takedown, he has clearly proven himself to be a legitimate grappler, like a high-level grappler, like to the level where he's calling out Bo Nickel. I'm not going to say that he could beat Bo Nickel in a grappling match or an MMA fight, but the point is, he's proven it. It's not like he's an untested new UFC guy at this point. He's shown time and time again, you need a win, he'll give you the win. He even got that submission victory, the Anaconda choke against Nick Maximov, who is one of the best grapplers, you would say, MMA grapplers in the sport right now. What do you think, AJ? One takedown, it's all he needs?
I think so, Derick. And that's what worries me about this fight right here, is because one takedown is all he needs. Or for Michel Pereira, one uppercut, one knee, even just 2 or 3 stuffs on the takedown. Then we're working in a whole new field over here. Now we switched over from the rice to the grain. Michel Pereira is working nicely over there. And that's what worries me, but also makes me excited for this fight, because so many different things can unfold. It's only going to be time that tells exactly how it goes down. But both of these fighters have very distinctive paths in which to stay to actually get that dub. Petroski, let's see, because what worries me, Derick, is not necessarily the untestedness of him, but the rather green he is to at least the UFC. Like you said, this guy's been preparing, he's been training, he's been fighting killers, man. GM3, Wellington Thurman, Nick Maximov, all of those are great names. But for the longevity, or I guess lack of longevity that he's been in the sport, or at least the UFC, it does give me a little bit of pause for, a little hesitancy over here. Do you have the same hesitancy going into this fight, Derick?
I don't, and the reason why is because if you look through Michel Pereira's resume, it's very decorated, right? You don't see a ton of grapplers on there, though. You know what I mean? You see a lot of strikers on that resume. So it's going to be a new look for both guys. I am 100% selling out on the short notice grappler who probably will not have a lot of cardio, but if he can get the takedown, I want the grappler at plus money. AJ, he opened as a plus 115 dog. He is currently a plus 170 dog. Pereira is as much as a minus 205 favorite. Maybe the odds makers know something that we don't, but all it takes is one takedown, and I'm going to sell out for that one. So give me Andre Petroski, give me a TKO or a submission victory plus 700 or plus 600. You love it, but you could totally see a decision coming out of here if he can keep it together long enough. What do you think?
If he can keep it together long enough, I do like the decision for Petroski, Derick. But personally, me, man, I'm going Pereira, and I'm going with that knockout. We may need 1, we may need 2. But either way, if Petroski eats a knee or an uppercut, man, this might change the whole fight. We'll see how it actually ends up. I like Michel Pereira TKO.
Heard that. That's a good fight right there, folks. Let's move on to the next. Edgar Chairez versus Daniel Da Silva, Lacerda, I don't know, however you want to say it, man. He goes by many names. The point is, we just saw this fight at UFC Noche. I was live in the building. I thought Lacerda got put to sleep. I thought so. You know what I mean? I thought the ref, I think it was Cristagnoni, he was checking the arm went limp. I was like, bro, what else are you going to do? You know, your arm went limp. You're not giving the referee many options here. The point is, this is a fight that's happening again because they said it was a premature stoppage. Do you see this fight playing out any differently than the first one, which was pretty much full domination by Edgar Chairez?
Yes, Derick, I do see it playing out, and not drastically, not drastically different. Obviously, we showed him the sheet before. I'm still betting on Chairez, but I do think this one's going to have at least a little bit of a different outcome with Lacerda, Da Silva, however you want to call him, being a little bit more cautious, not being so aggressive and getting himself into those positions. Because even though he was on top position, he was hunting the good position while they're against the cage. Chairez was able to out-pressure him, out-force him, and outwork him to get into the position that ended up, which I agree with you. I thought the arm went limp. I thought it was a great call by Cristagnoni. You go to sleep, that's what happens. But also, you wake up pretty instantly because it is a blood choke. So yes, I see this fight going differently, Derick, but just slightly, just lasting a little bit longer. I do still think the correct man is going to win since they called it a draw or a no contest, whatever it was. Yeah. What about you? Do you see this fight switching it up at all?
Nah, man. Lacerda, he's blood in, blood out, bro. He's why you love it. This is why you can be on a 5-fight winless streak and still be in the UFC, man. It's because every time he goes in there, he is looking for that finish, and you cannot show me a fight within the last 5 years other than the last one that didn't end in a finish, because even the last one did. It just doesn't count because it's a no contest. So, no, I think Chairez is more durable. I really do love the submission skills and the ability to just go in for the kill of Lacerda, but I think Chairez, he has this matchup right here, man. And I'm not going to bet against the guy that put on a pretty dominant display in the first one. Could be one of those crazy events where somehow, some way he turns it around and gets his first win since 2021. I just don't see it here. I'm not counting him out per se because I'm a fan of the fighter. But if money is on the line, we bet Edgar Chairez all day.
All day right there. I'm with you. I see it the exact same way, Derick. And actually, I kind of like the submission again, man. You know, they always say ball never lies. Well, submission never lies either. Give me that Chairez plus 275.
Yeah, give me the TKO, man. I'm going to have a little pride and respect for, you know, Daniel Lacerda right there. You're not going to get choked out twice. You can't let it happen, man. You can, but please don't. All right. That's that one. Easy wrap up right there. And to open us up, Christian Rodriguez versus Cameron Saaiman. We had said originally, we're like, we don't know how to say your name, but we're going to get it right once you put on enough display. AJ, the man has done enough to put on display to know who he is. Only problem is, he has done a lot. He's on this, you know, undefeated streak right here, and he's running into a guy with very little hype, even though he stole that hype of Raul Rosas. But Saaiman, he is the favorite, or not favorite betting-wise, but I think in the perception, I think he's the favorite coming into this matchup. I think people are completely discounting Christian Rodriguez, and the South African is going to try to come in here and put on a display like he has with all of these other fighters. Only problem is, AJ, don't cheat. Don't look. Any notable name that Cameron Saaiman has defeated in his UFC tenure?
Man, the only one that comes to mind is that last Mitchell fight, Terrence Mitchell. But even then, that's not notable to everybody else. It's just because I saw it about 2 minutes ago when I looked. So,
but that's the point.
Derek, no.
That's the point, is that Terrence Mitchell, I'm not saying that this is not a talented fighter whatsoever, but you got fed to Raul Rosas and then got knocked out by, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, that's your most notable win. Christian Rodriguez, once again, you cannot sit here and discount that his biggest win to date is against that same guy. So it's not like we're discounting that. Really, what I'm saying is that if you look at the Joshua Weems fight, the JP3 fight, that's experience that I think Cameron Saaiman has yet to face. Christian Rodriguez got ragdolled by JP3, my man, Jonathan Pierce, but he had bright moments. And I think if you're hanging with that level of opposition, and that's literally your only loss in your UFC career, your MMA career, excuse me, I think it's going to be a really competitive fight against Cameron Saaiman. And I think that even though he's a minus 150 favorite at open, he's barely moved up to minus 155 right here. I think you cash in on Christian Rodriguez personally. What do you think?
100%, Derek. I mean, we saw in that Rosas fight, we're going to have to start calling Christian Rodriguez the hype snatcher or something, because that's exactly it, man. We saw him go in there and outwork Rosas in what Rosas does best, and I expect the exact same thing because Saaiman, man, this guy is a great grappler. He does have good fundamental striking, but what I didn't like about it, man, he stands a little tall, he stands a little long, and yeah, he's a lengthy fighter, so, you know, he can do that, he can get away with it. But with a guy with Rodriguez that has the power he does and the pressure he does, and as well as the defensive wrestling skills we saw him put on display, I think this is going to be a hell of a fight for Saaiman to actually get done. What do you think?
Man, the thing I like most about Christian Rodriguez in this matchup is just the composure. That's it, man. And I think if he could bring that against Cameron Saaiman, yeah, he can give him a lot of problems. But you're right. I don't want to sit here and discount Cameron Saaiman like he's not a talented fighter. Like, he clearly is. He clearly has a lot of promise, and they want to make him the next thing. And I think he can be that, because if he wins against Christian Rodriguez, you have officially absolutely earned my respect. Like, you're okay. You a problem a little bit, you know what I mean? But once again, this is one of those spots where if you're looking just from a pure grappling perspective, Cameron Saaiman has had his best moments in these fights kind of in those grappling spots. I don't think Christian Rodriguez gives you that ability. Now, if this fight stays standing only, who do you give the edge to?
I actually give it to Rodriguez too, Derek. I think he's a little slicker in there. He has more power. What I don't like about Saaiman is he looks like a fighter who is still learning how to use his body. I'm excited for the Saaiman that's going to be fighting when he's, 25, 26? How old is this kid now? Must be 22. Yeah, 22, 23. I'm excited for that 25, 26-year-old Cameron Saaiman who's filled out a little bit, maybe in a weight class above, knows how to use that man strength once he grows into it. Because right now, I hate saying the word baby giraffe, but that's what it kind of gives me, those vibes, that long, lanky, still really kind of putting together the body mechanics behind it. When Saaiman does that, he's going to be a killer. But right now, I give the edge to Rodriguez. What do you think, Derek?
And I mean, you know, Rodriguez isn't too much older, man. He's only 25 years old himself, but he does look a little more mature in his fighting capacities, just what he's put on display. And like I said, I think the composure is a big part of what makes that maturity factor go right there, just because, like, when I see him, man, I'm like, dude, you look like you've been here. You look like none of this phases you. And I think that mentality is going to propel him to a victory here. It's just a matter of how does it get done. Lots of submissions, man. Anacondas. You're looking at just clubbing subs, rear naked chokes, arm bars. Like, he's kind of did it all here, man. What do you see coming out of the Christian Rodriguez camp right here? A submission, a TKO? What do you think?
Man, I think actually, Derick, this might be the boring answer for the fans out there, but I think it's a decision. I think with the skill that Saaiman presents on the ground, Christian Rodriguez, as skilled as he is going to want to avoid that as much as possible, because all it takes is one slip up, you're in a triangle, you're in something dangerous out of the Saaiman camp. I think he's going to fare better on the feet, fare better in the defensive wrestling, the avoidance of the takedown, and really work for a knockout. Hopefully he can get it, but I think the decision's most likely right here. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, if it's not a submission, I'd probably go decision on this one. Here's the thing, man. I'm not counting out Cameron Saaiman in this fight. Even though I'm heavy leaning Christian Rodriguez here, there is a part of me inside my heart that I'm like, Saaiman can fucking win this fight, man. He's winning all these other fights. Like, why can't he win this fight? But the wager within me says you got to go on the minus money. Christian Rodriguez, it's minus 150. It's really not too crazy. Minus 155 currently. You can still get a good one here. Do you think this one goes over 2.5 rounds?
I do actually, Derick. I do think this one. I'm still rocking with that all the way. What about you? Think it's over or under?
It's tough, man. Minus 175 for over 2.5 rounds, but that negates any real finishes because you have to get that finish in the last minute and a half, the last 2 minutes of the fight. I'm gonna rock the under. I'm going to take the under. I'm going to go for a finish. Give me the finish. We're cashing in. Plus 450 submission victory. Christian Rodriguez under 2.5 rounds. You heard it here first, folks. And that is another Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. All right, AJ, we made it. We made it, brother. All right, let's move on over to the most coveted aspect of this program, which is the sleeper section, where we are highlighting the unknowns of today, yet the stars of tomorrow. Will a star be born? You bet your ass they will. Let's get it, baby.
Time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
AJ, this was actually a card where we could pull up some sleepers and be like, I had to do some research. And folks, I'm gonna go first on these sleepers because I have something novel. This has been one of the few times ever that I've done my film study and I was able to pick a sleeper, though for one of the fighters, I could find zero film. There was zero film available. I YouTubed it, I Googled it, I tried to MMA core it, I did everything. There was no record of this person fighting. And I was like, either one, my analytical skills suck and I don't know how to pull up a fight or use a search engine, or number two, this is just the type of fight that we're getting on our hands right here. So folks, let me open it up to you. I'm talking about Tainara Lisboa versus Ravina Oliveira. AJ, I don't know if you know much about this matchup that we got going on right here, but the point is, this is a bantamweight matchup, and the real reason that I selected this as a sleeper is because Lisboa smashed on the scene. She finished Jessica Rose Clark, submitted her in the third round of her fight. Muay Thai fighter is Jessica Rose Clark, now currently fighting just pure Muay Thai, and Lisboa was not able to just put it on her on the feet. Also, on that ground right there, which we know it's not quite a fair assessment. But the point is, the person that she is fighting right here, Ravina Oliveira, you might not know much about her. She might be a big dog, but look at this, man. TKOs, submission. 6 of her 7 victories are by finish. AJ, we do not hear that when it comes down to women's matchups. So, 2 factors. Lots of finishes. Lisboa is a fantastic Muay Thai fighter in and of itself. So she's got fantastic striking, good grappling. She can get the finish there, burst onto the scene. She's fighting another finisher. And oh, by the way, this is in the women's bantamweight division who needs life. So the UFC is begging for somebody to make a splash. I think Lisboa is the one, man. She looks special.
And for my sleeper, man, I got an absolute banger. Not a lot of people know about it. You were saying it before. You might need to do a little research, but this one's going to be a fun one, folks. I got right here Irina Alexeva. I know I'm going to butcher that, but you scroll down a little bit. She's the Russian Ronda versus Melissa Dixon, folks. No mess Dixon right here. I like this fight strictly for the fun factor. It's very rare that I actually put out a female sleeper section for this one, folks, but these 2 fighters deserve it because as you can see right there, Askreva, I forget how you say her name, but either way, she is a finisher, man. Knee bars, submissions, decisions, knockouts, however you want it, man. The Russian Ronda can provide it, but on that other end, you look at it right there, even scroll past it, one of those last 2, Derick, knockouts on knockouts, KOs, ground and pound, however you want it done. Melissa Dixon is one of the the few to come out of England that doesn't really have that much hype behind her. You could see it. This is Russia versus England. Both fighters are pretty close, but I do give the edge to No Mess Dixon in this one, specifically for the knockouts. I think Alexeva, however you say it, she's going to come in with a lot of pride, a lot of power, and a lot of poise in there, but you can't be messing around with No Mess Dixon. There's a reason they call her that, because she is very, very dangerous in this one. Folks, tune in. Don't blink, because a lot can happen in this fight. We'll see if we get two women's finishes on this card coming up. Derek, what do you think about this one?
It's going to be a fun fight, man. Listen, folks, we got back-to-back women's sleeper fights here, damn near regional over here if you really think about it. So you got some homework to do, but you should definitely check it out. It will be a fun one. Now, AJ, the last thing that we have to do here is we have to jump into a little bit of a prelim pour-over. And folks, we're not going to be wasting your time here. We only want to highlight the most impactful bouts on the prelims, the ones that you should definitely keep an eye on. The first one that I do want to talk about is Darren the Damage Elkins versus TJ Brown. AJ, I told you I had a little something here for this matchup, and we need to talk about it. I respect your prop lock. I respect the dog money. And in the most respectful way I can say it, TJ Brown is my super max throw $1 million on homeboy and ride into the sunset. He is my smash play. I actually got in on TJ Brown. I believe he was a -120 or a -150 favorite. He is now swollen to about -180, so not major swelling, but I definitely cashed in on him early. I think that even though cardio might become a factor, Darren Elkins coming off of some major injuries, a little too old, a little too slow for TJ Brown, downtown TJ Brown. That's my thoughts. What do you think about this matchup as a whole, and what do you got to say on my harsh comments right there?
I wouldn't say it's harsh, Derek. I'd say it's pretty justified, to be honest with you, man. I was looking at prop after prop after prop, trying to find one, and why I like this one is because the damage can never be dead, I guess, if you will. Like Darren the Damage Elkins, this dude will fight tooth and nail for every position given, and every one he earns, man. It's a mile for every inch this dude puts in it. And the thing that worries me for downtown TJ Brown is the fact that every now and then, man, in his fights, he just slips up just that inch, just that millimeter. He's off somewhere, somehow, and he finds himself in these positions that the fights get away from him. And because the damage is always going to be there, that's why I like this one. And don't get me wrong, I wanted to put it that this fight goes to the distance, because I can see that happening more likely. But -115 or -110, I forgot what the opening odds are for that one. I'm not going minus money for you folks. I'm not falling into the trap again. I'm rolling with Darren the Damage Elkins, because I think he's going to be time tested. It's going to be a fun fight regardless, but I do see this one going the distance.
Major fun fight right there. It's your featured prelim. You got to tune in. You know what time it is. AJ, El Guapo, Chris Gutierrez, he goes from a very competitive 29-28 against Pedro Munoz to the second fight on the prelims, opening it up for a fight night card. What happened here, bro? They got him against Alatang Lee too, man. Like, first off, they're either delivering him saying, hey, we need you to knock somebody out. We need it to be nasty, Frankie Edgar style, when you need him in his jaw, something like that. Or they're saying, we gave you an opportunity, you put on a stinker, and now you're relegated back to the prelims. What do you think?
I think actually a little bit of both, Derek. I think they're hoping for the knockout against Alatang Lee, but why they're almost feeding I just blanked the name, not Alatang Lee. Who's the other guy, Derek?
El Guapo, Chris Gutierrez.
El Guapo, man. Chris Gutierrez. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. Why I think they're feeding El Guapo right here is just because of that, man. Alatang Lee is going to be providing the fight, man.
All right, folks, we made it to the outro. This was a fantastic episode. UFC Vegas 81. We gave you the picks. We broke down the prelims. We gave you some sleepers. What else can you ask for? AJ, take us out of here, my friend.
Folks, we want to thank you again and again and again, man. 720, something like that. It's a small army. We're going to go start raiding these other YouTubers' villages, taking all their stuff, because you know where you're winning money week in and week out. There's a reason we're your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. And it's not only because we're winning you money. It's not only because we're bringing you the picks. Not only because we're bringing you the best breakdowns in the game, but it's because we have that accountability week in and week out. You know who to go whenever you need to trust somebody. Whenever you want to fill those pockets, we're right here. You just got to hit that subscribe button down below.
You heard the man. I cannot say it any better myself. Folks, pay-per-view next week. Let's talk about it then. But until then, get your picks right. Tune in, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. That's it for us. And until next time, peace.